Our next spotlight session will offer a deep dive into what can be expected at the Peace, Relief and Recovery Day at COP29 in Baku. It will also discuss the presidency of Azerbaijan and how the presidency of Azerbaijan will build on the efforts and accomplishments from COP27 and COP28. Please welcome with me Christina Wegelein, Head of Climate and Security Division at the German Federal Foreign Office, and His Excellency Ambassador Iskandarov. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna, and thank you also to the previous panel for introducing us, or for setting the scene already for the spotlight session. It's a great honor for me to introduce Ambassador Elshad Iskandarov. He is the special envoy of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Azerbaijan, representing the COP29, the incoming COP29 presidency here. It's great to have you, Elshad. And I know that in this room, we have lots of questions for you. Even during the last days and weeks, I have received lots of questions on what Azerbaijan is planning. Let me just begin by saying how much we appreciate the fact that you and the COP29 presidency put a focus on climate and conflict, on climate and peace. We think it's very important to give this space, and we were already told by the previous panel that it's important to build this momentum. We are also grateful that we can work together with you as a co-lead in this group, including also Uganda, the UK, Egypt, and Italy. So thank you very much for being here. I would like to give you the floor for a few minutes to just present your ideas and plans. I have some questions for you, and then we would also like to take questions from the audience.
Thank you very much, Christina. Distinguished colleagues, I already feel from the narrowness of this chair that I'm going to be squeezed in with questions, or it's, I don't know, maybe after lunch it feels like this. So starting with the first commitment I can make, taking from the previous panel, yes, the COP29, which is upcoming in Baku, will take up on the tradition established at COP28, and we'll have second in row Peace, Relief, Recovery Day on 15th of November. So that I can already, announce. Now, this topic, the complex relations between climate change and peace, insecurity, it has so many angles that our presidency team diving into it for the last 6 months, explored the whole new world, the whole new industry built around the topic, and a lot of visions. And of course, as the presidency, to be balancing, to follow up our motto, enable action and raise ambitions. While applying this also to this area, we found it useful to be in a very good group, in a very good alliance and partnership. And although I'm going to speak here about plans of COP29, formerly COP29 presidency, in fact, these are the plans and ambitions of the colleague group which you mentioned, and we are very thankful to Germany, UK, Italy, Egypt, Uganda, who helped us to navigate through these easy waters. So overall, up to today, we held more than 70 meetings on this topic in order to explore the views, to find the gaps, and to develop solution-oriented, not just second in row, not just declarations to be renewed, but also solutions to be proposed on 15th of November. So as we know, the projections in this area, and we've seen today from the minister's presentation, let's say that last time I have been listening for the 45 minutes of lecture at my most beloved teacher in the university for this, but it was really, informing and full with warnings. Just a couple figures maybe to add to this presentation. Up until 2050, 2.8 billion people will be living in the areas affected by the climate change, the dramatic rise from 1.8 million. Of these, today we have approximately 140 million households living in the most vulnerable parts of these affected groups, and those are the areas affected both by climate change and climate emergency, but also conflict or post-conflict vulnerability. And although we have in climate finance mechanism a specific call to address the most vulnerables in first case, only 2% of the climate finance are reaching this population. So the share, contrast between, 25 to 30% of the population of the overall affected, communities living in the most vulnerable situations, and only 2% of finance reaching out to them. So this is one of the important gaps in operationalization or in implementation of all the commitments which have been stated during the COP28 CRRP declaration. Another one is that although the problem is there, we have several initiatives developed both within COP and outside COP, which are analyzing this field, contributing and putting the resources and the national resources and the synergies. But another gap which we jointly identified is that there is a need for the synergy of synergies, meaning that there is a need for the platform where these initiatives will be talking to each other. And this conversation is relatively new, but already has its background, started at COP26, and then developed with the regional initiative of CRISP of the COP27, and then CRRP and its follow-up activities. So bringing them all together, but not just them. We have behind, those analytical data and the very excellent analysis we've seen from the presentations, from the recently, just few hours, revealed index of climate and security. We have the whole C4P, Climate for Peace initiative developed by Germany, as well as we have a Matteo plan for Africa and its climate dimension. So both initiatives within and outside the UNFCCC realm are in very much need to talk to each other, to explore where the areas are of potential cooperation, and not just between these countries, but also enlarging the base for potential cooperation. So the solution for this, coming out of all of these 70 meetings, number one, to further highlight problem. And here I think we are doing our best in putting the Peace, Relief, Recovery Day under the climate general dialogue of the COP29 at a very high hierarchy. In fact, as you know, that the number one priority for Baku COP is the finance, is the NCQG, and immediately after the first thematic days on finance, we are planning to have the Day for Peace, Relief and Recovery, which is 15th of November. So to develop solutions, and for developing solutions, we need to talk on practical, concrete areas. That is why 3+1 topics, focal topics are developed for this day, and this is the food security, land degradation and water scarcity, and cross-cutting issue of the climate-induced migration, because we know that all of these three factors are contributing to climate-induced migration, and unfortunately, the numbers of the climate refugees or the climate-displaced person for few years on row already, surpassing refugees from other, from the conflict-affected zones, which both of them need the attention of international community. But whereas we have, we have established international infrastructure to address the issue of refugees and IDPs, this is not in many cases the same for the climate-induced refugees. Just Recently, at the UNGA engagements, we heard this very touching story of the Sudanese refugee who became a refugee as a result of the conflict, and then second time because the floods, just washed out the refugee camp she was living in. And when addressing the, for example, loss and damage part of the climate finance, her community was told that this is under the purview of humanitarian assistance. So, whereas it all starts with the loss and damage, as obviously the story of this girl tells us, Nasreen. So, and then number 3 would be to do it in a way when we're broadening consensus, not narrowing it. When we take into account the views, the specific views on these issues, we address a climate and peace nexus in a way that doesn't create additional tensions, doesn't politicize the topic, with a view of taking it to the future COPs. As we like to say, we would like on this peace and climate issue, no place for good COP, bad COP. We need all of those COPs to be good to the climate and peace issue. So this is overall, outline of the plans. And if there would be any further questions or further, need to develop on them, I would be glad to take it.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Whilst some of the panels are so lucky to be granted extra minutes, I don't think we can count on this. So I just maybe put one question to you to combine the ones that I had and then hand over to the audience. You were talking about the initiative that you want to combine or connect to each others, and you were also saying that you're focusing on the outputs and on solutions, which of course I think many of us appreciate a lot. I was wondering, how can COP29 strengthen the existing also national and regional initiatives that there are on climate, peace and securities, the solutions that we have heard here about and that they are in the room. So how can they contribute to the COP Climate and Peace Day, and how can the COP also strengthen them?
Well, in terms of, advices and in terms of the proposals, just in a few days from now, we will be opening a general consultation on the paper to outline both developments since COP28 CRRP and also renewal of commitments in this area to be made, or to underline the most important areas where scaling up of international cooperation is needed. We specifically didn't go for another declaration since I think that all the cornerstone ideas are laid in the CRRP, but that would be a rather shorter version of a practical call for action. And we jointly called it Baku Call for Climate Action for Peace. And yes, in 2 days from now, at the pre-COP session, we'll have the first consultation and then probably another consultation with a group of friends, and the online opportunities would be explored so that both developments since COP28, new commitments, the areas where the scale up for international cooperation is needed, including the experience of the initiatives you mentioned, of C4P, of post-CRRP, CREASE, very important initiative on Africa. We were very much delighted to hear from the African Commission that the plans for Baku Peace Day already actively being discussed in the African Union, and although they might not yet to come with the common position up to COP29, but the development of that kind of common position is in itself very important sign that the whole region, and let's not forget that this region is the home for the most part of the vulnerable settings, is coming up with appreciating this initiative. So I believe that designed in the right way, and as we discussed, the synergy creating structure is envisaged to be the hub where the knowledge can enter, where the need of those in the needs of the most vulnerable can be matched with the resources available. Starting from the very simple resource of information. As during one of our conversations it was mentioned, there are 69 climate finance mechanisms. 69 in itself, very symbolic figure, symbolizing the eternity. Where is the entrance, where is the exit. And of course, a lot of countries, we are talking about the potential beneficiaries of this financing, they lack capacity to identify this complexity of the climate finance, to go through the procedure. Of course, principles of sensitivity toward those need to be developed. We very much appreciate the UK efforts in this regard. And to start with information sharing the best practices, and supporting the existing projects in the pipeline of the UN agencies, and ultimately putting the cloud of all the lead countries in this area, plus those who would like to join, to push forward, to push further with the climate finance institutions for scaling up the finance.
Thanks very much. This way you've also shown how this can directly contribute to the well-being of the most vulnerable and hopefully also reach people in fragile contexts. So we have a few minutes for questions, so you have to be quick in order to get the microphones. Do you have questions for Ambassador Elshad Iskandarov? Maybe I need to put my glasses on to see you. Yeah, in the far back. You'll get the microphone.
Thank you. Ellie Kinney from the Conflict and Environment Observatory. It's been really brilliant to hear the presidency have such an awareness of the way that the climate crisis is so interlinked with conflict risk and vice versa. But I just wanted to highlight that in turn, armed conflicts and everyday military activity does also further drive the climate crisis through increasing emissions. An estimated 5.5% of global emissions come from military activity. However, these emissions are currently missing from the UNFCCC, or largely currently missing from the UNFCCC's reporting. I wondered if this was a theme or a kind of intersection that we can expect the presidency to begin to address over the course of the year.
Thank you. I would maybe take another one or two questions and then you can answer them together. Okay, if there's no more question, then you can start ahead.
Either presentation was comprehensive or it was messy, so then there are no questions. Indeed, the combined emission from the world military is, if I'm not mistaken, is on the third place in the hierarchy of the highest emitters. You know that UNFCCC is going through the national procedure, so it's not taking the industries and the different areas of the economy, industry, agriculture. So it's basically need to be addressed through the NDCs, which will be part of the conversation in Baku, because scaling up finance, the NCQG goal, which we are talking about, is highly, deeply connected and related to NDCs. But in order to address this issue, for example, one of the initiatives, although it's not connected to the PRR Day initiatives, was the COP truce announced by and proposed by COP29 presidency. It has two objectives. Number one, it in itself appreciates the importance of the climate as the existential threat, enemy of the humanity, so that in face of which all other enmities should be frozen at least for the months, replicating the Olympic truce. The second one is also to give a chance for greater climate action, including reaching the military activities, which is number 30 meters.
Thank you very much. We are right on time. Ambassador Elshad will stay with us, of course, until the end of the day. So if there's more questions during the coffee break, we can also continue this conversation. Thank you very much for being here with us. And I'll hand over to Anna for the next spotlight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christina Wegelein and Your Excellency.